All right, so we've been talking about additional ways to sort of do compositing, right? We talked about the rotoscope brush and using like the clone stamp tool to kind of help us with laying out video. There's actually another way we can do it. It's called the content awareness panel. And I'm going to show you how this is going to work. It's a little bit kind of like it's not quite AI because I think it predates AI, but it's kind of using AI techniques where it's going to analyze information and kind of use that to build. So let's look at this video here. It's a slow motion video of this woman kind of walking along. You can see that the video is kind of, going up and down a little bit. And let's just say for the sake of argument, I want to remove this and I want to remove maybe this car and this these signs in the back here and kind of make it look a little more natural. So what I'm going to do is we are going to make a mask. Okay. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to, I have the video selected and I'm just going to take this and add a mask. Okay. I'm assuming you guys hopefully know how to make a mask at this point. We did this in a lab and in second project. And actually, right now, this is masking everything but this area. This is actually the area I want to remove. So the area that you kind of want to, remove or sort of paste over, that is going to be the area that we set to subtract. So I'm going to click on the option here and go from add to subtract. Okay. I also really recommend, I'm going to set this to none for a second, that you make sure that the thing that you actually want to remove, you have a little bit of buffer zone around, especially because if you notice, see how like the video, like that's kind of going up and down. So I may even like, I want to make sure that it doesn't go too far outside of that. So I'm actually going to kind of lower that. Try not to make it too big because the more it has to analyze, the longer. Yeah, that's still a little bit far down. So I'm just gonna do that and maybe pull it in. All right, that looks pretty good. And let's do the same thing for here. I'm going to make a mask. I'm just gonna use once again, maybe like a shape and just kind of click and drag. And let's also set this to none or subtract, I should say. All right, I'm gonna set this to none just so I can see it a little better. Okay, well, we'll try. All right, let's set these both to subtract. These are the areas we want replaced. Then what we're going to do is you can go to Window and you can go to Content Aware Fill. Okay. And you can kind of see the area that's going to be kept. Make sure the fill method is set to object. And make sure lighting correction is on. And then we're going to click where it says make sure this is all on frame one. I'm going to go to generate fill layer. Now this might take a moment or two. The larger your masks are, the larger this will take. Obviously, the length of the video is also a factor. So I'm going to click on this and it's going to analyze. You can see it's not the fastest. This is kind of like when we did like motion tracking. You just got to give it time. And what actually is going to happen is it's going to make a image sequence above your video to kind of fill this in. So it's actually analyzing the video. It's like looking at the content and like the colors and the form. You're just gonna have to wait till this analyzes. Obviously, it's, taking a moment here. So it's analyzing the video, it's analyzing the data. Hopefully you can kind of see this. It's going a little faster now. Getting there, 65%. Let's keep going. All right. So it did that. So now it's rendering. That's what's going to happen into this fill area here. It's got to go through every frame. So we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. So, give it a second, still analyzing. And boom. Okay. It definitely worked well there. You can see, what it was like before. This one, I don't know, maybe not as, didn't do quite as well there. I might have to go back and try that. But definitely that one worked out pretty well. To be perfectly honest, if you hadn't really noticed, if I hadn't mentioned it, you may not have noticed that one over there. So I think that did a pretty good job of, removing, you know, the sign there. This one could probably use a little more work, maybe. All right, let's try another one. All right, we got this character guy here. What I'm going to do is we're going to put a mask around him. Okay. Once again, we'll set that to subtract. So I want to kind of remove the man from here. I want to set this to none. Okay. All right, once again, I'm going to go over here, make sure that object and light correction is set. Let's generate fill layer. Oops, I guess I have to save first. And then we'll generate the fill layer. Oops, except I did not set this to subtract. Now let's try that. Generate fill layer. And it's basically going to do the same thing. It's going to analyze. Hopefully this goes a little quicker than it did last time. All right, so let's see. Yeah, that did a pretty good job. So if we look at that, it's a little bit there, but did a solid job of removing it. Okay. All right, I got one here. I'm gonna take this video. I found this video on Pexels. Let's just say I'm gonna take this video and we're gonna subtract this part. Okay. So I'm gonna download this. Let's download. Okay. I'm gonna bring that in. All right. Let's say I want to get rid of this, so I'm actually gonna make my own mask. Let's subtract. Let's actually set it to none for now. All right, there's that. Let's set it to subtract. Let's use the content aware fill. All right. Let's see. Could use a little work, not gonna lie, but it's a decent start. Maybe I might try working on this area. So it helps if there's smaller items, some items that might need a little more work on that. But anyway, why don't you guys try that out? That was exercise 9 and exercise 10. Okay.